my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Man Cave. Got a lot to tell you about, a couple of things to mention, but I noticed Mark Nadzum is in the comments. Mark, I did not expect to see you here. How you doing? I hope you're doing really well. It says you said you're doing better now. I can't imagine. Anything's got to be better than what you went through. Oh my gosh. I just can't imagine it. I feel for you. Been praying for you. Anyway, moving on. We're going to have a live show here tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And tune in if you can. I have a confession to make. All those requests that I wrote down yesterday, they're still laying right here. I didn't send them to the band, so the odds of doing those tunes are pretty slim. Sorry about that. It just got so darn busy. I went right back out after the vlog. I went right back out and started working on those trusses, putting them together. I got them together last night, so everything was ready to install. I could have installed them last night, but I was wore out. So I didn't do that. But I did walk outside right after that, and here's what I saw right after putting those trusses together last night.
Well, JR's new equipment seems to be working really well. Well, I say new equipment, obviously it's new to him, but it's old equipment. But at least it's working really well. He's doing a good job getting this all baled. What I'm worried about is he cut it yesterday and he's baling it today. I'm afraid this is going to burn his barn down. I really am. I've been there, done that. I've seen it more than once. I've come upon bales that were smoking and opened them up and it had fire start right in them. It's just not a pretty thing. I'm really, really concerned that this is too green to bale.
Yeah, been there, done that a couple of times. My dad had 2 barns burned down. The fire people said it was spontaneous combustion, though the circumstances were very suspect. Both barns burned down on a Monday night, both of them at about 7 o'clock p.m., and they were consecutive Monday nights. So it was kind of weird that that happened that way. Not out of the realm of possibility that it could have still just been spontaneous combustion, but we also thought it could have been arson. Dad, at the time, thought it may have been one of his ex-employees, the lawn service employees that came back and did that. It burned up all of his trucks and tractors and lawn equipment. It put him completely out of business. If it weren't for the wonderful, rich people, literally wonderful, rich clients that he had, he would have been belly up. But these clients that he had basically just gave him the money and said, get your business going again and pay us back when you can. And he did. He paid them back. But pretty amazing. The old rich were some crazy nice people. They really were. As I've told you a few different times, we lived right among them. We lived on 10 acres of rented ground with an old farmhouse, had 10 acres of horse pasture there, and all the rich neighborhood kids would come over and ride the horses, and I'd go swim in their indoor-outdoor swimming pools and play tennis on their tennis courts. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. One house had 2 full tennis courts. I mean, 2 full tennis courts. One wasn't enough. He had 2 of them. He had like a 6-car garage. The guy right behind him had an indoor-outdoor swimming pool. It was a real tough way to grow up. And of course, the other time, the kids would be over there on my place helping me build my 3-story tree house, because that's where it all started. I was just a little kid, and I was building a 3-story tree house in the trees there on our property. Yeah, good old times, good old times. But anyway, that baling that hay green like that couldn't burn those buildings down. Yeah, for sure. I definitely came up on more than one time where I've come into hay and saw it smoking or steaming like, and you open up the bale and it's so hot you can't touch it. It'll either burst into flame right then when you open it up, or it just sit there and smolder. Crazy. Yeah, it's very dangerous. Very dangerous. I had a really busy morning this morning. I've already worked an 8-hour day in 4 hours this morning. I worked from 7 to almost 11 getting things ready. I moved those trusses, put them up on top of the building, cleaned the shop a couple of times actually. Got our lawn tractor in there, started working on that. Went back up to the building and put a tarp on it. Anyway, here's the video about getting those trusses in place, and these are just clips that I tacked together here so they kind of bounce around a little bit. Here you go.
Pretty much worked all afternoon on it, but I got her finished. This is the eave, the overhang here, and you can see that it is completely done. And all the measurements worked out. This one went so much faster because I already had all the engineering done. I knew exactly how I wanted to build it. I did this pretty much in one day. I'm talking about putting it together in one day, where it probably took me 2 or 3 days to put it together on the first one. But at least 3 times the number of hours, if not more. So I'm pretty happy with that. So we should be able to set this one in place tomorrow. I could do it tonight, but I'm wore out. And then we'll tie the truss that's up there and this truss together with those notches. We'll put boards in those. The other truss will be sitting about here, about 2 feet away, so it's not a big deal. Just run a short board across there. Even though we don't really need it for structure or for strength, but it'll just tie it all together really nice and neat. Well, here's the perspective, first look at what it's going to kind of look like once we get the roof and the cedar shake. Of course, once you get the cedar shake on there, it's even going to look much cooler. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I still need to put those crossbars across there to tie it together, though it doesn't actually need those because the roof itself will tie it together. but I'm just going to do it for uniformity on the inside more than anything. And you know, it's got a nice overhang, as you can see. And my thought is, and I don't know if I can do it for sure, but my thought is to come out with another eave like this, a small eave over the door, and cover the stairs, kind of, and put a post in the ground and the whole bit. I just don't know if that'll work or if that'll even happen. Or maybe I'll just make a free hanging eave. I'm not really sure how I'll do it, but there'll be something. Well, I came back up here after I showered and decided to put this tarp on because the skies are looking ominous, and Sue says it's supposed to rain, and JR says it's going to rain, etc. and so forth. So I got this new tarp. I thought it ain't doing no good in the package. Might as well put it up on the building. Let me tell you something, that ain't easy to do by yourself especially. It's up and down a whole bunch of ladders a whole bunch of times, and then you got to try to nail it off so it doesn't blow off. And I think it's secure, but maybe just barely. But anyway, I think it'll hold. That ought to keep the building dry at least. And now I don't have to get in too big a hurry on the next phases. I've got a lot of other work to get caught up on. So this is probably going to set for a week or so before I get back to it.
Yeah, and now, while that's sitting there like that, I can start on Leon's guitar. He gave me his guitar over a month ago, and I haven't even looked at it. And it's the Martin guitar that you've seen me work on a couple of times. On all the instruments I've ever had come through the shop, thousands of instruments, there's only been 3 or 4 tops that have come back. I mean, not very many at all. This one's come back, I think it's the 3rd time now. It's pitiful. That thing, I don't know, it just doesn't want to be a guitar or something. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. First of all, I mean, it was manufactured incorrectly. The bridge was in the wrong place. He could never tune it. He always had trouble tuning it. So I told him that we needed to move the bridge, and he said, "It's a Martin guitar. We don't need to move the bridge." And I said, "Well, telling you right now, they had a problem time frame there in the 70s, 80s where they put them in the wrong place, and they sure did on this one. It was off by a good 1/8 of an inch for the intonation. Once we fixed that, it intonated perfectly. You could put a capo on it, and you didn't have to retune it. But I don't know, something happened, and it started bowing up and, getting weird. I can't even remember all the things I've done to it. Did I do a neck reset on it? I can't remember. I can't remember. I've done several things to it. I know I replaced the bridge plate. I put a new bridge on it. The bridge cracked. I think that's what happened. I think the original bridge cracked across the holes. I had to take that off, put a new bridge on it, made a new bridge, put it on there. It just doesn't want to be a guitar. And now the action's high again. The top is bulging up, he said. I'm thinking, I don't see how it could do that. I put on a real nice thick, a nice stout bridge plate, not a thick one, but a nice stout one, so it shouldn't bow. I haven't even opened the case to look at it yet, to be truthful. I'm just going by what he told me. He said the belly, it's bowing up. So I guess now, at least I have time now, I can look at it, and we'll see what we have to do to it this time. Whew. If it wasn't such a good sounding guitar, I think he'd just get rid of it. But it's a real good sounding Martin. It just doesn't want to be a Martin guitar. Anyway, so that's one thing. And then another longtime friend contacted me. He's been real ill too. Trying to think of his name. I know his name, but I cannot think of it right at the moment. He plays old time country, and anyway, he has a Yamaha guitar. Now this is just him describing it over the phone, okay? But I pretty much can imagine what this looks like, because I know the luthier that did the work. he said that this particular luthier he took it to do a neck reset, sawed the neck off of it. Now, it's a Yamaha. Keep in mind, those were put on with epoxy, and they don't come off easy. How do I know? I've done them, and they don't come apart easy. In fact, you pretty much just have to break them apart to get them apart when they're glued with epoxy, which is really a dumb thing to do to a neck. But anyway, so apparently this luthier that he took it to, this was years ago. In fact, probably before I moved down here and started my business down here. Anyway, I know that guy that did this work, and I've seen a lot of his work, and yeah, I wouldn't pass my normal specs. Most of it looked like you took it to, a fifth grader or something and said, here, fix this. It's about the kind of work that it was done on it. So I can't imagine what it's going to look like with it being sawed off. I can't imagine how he reattached it. I'm just dreading it big time. But anyway, that's going to be coming before long also. And since he's such a good longtime friend, I told him I'd take a look at it and see if I could do something with it. It's a guitar he really likes. It for the sound, number one. A lot of those old Red Label Yamaha guitars really do have a good sound. But the main reason he wants to keep it and keep it in playing condition is because he's got a lot of real nice signatures on it from a lot of country stars and things. So he wants. By the way, his name is George. I'm trying to think of his last name now. George is his first name. I want to say Montgomery. I think that's it, but I'm not positive about that. But anyway, he's going to be bringing that before too long, too. So I got to get busy on Leon's and get that fixed up and hopefully get that fixed where it doesn't give any more trouble. I'm thinking that on Leon's, there must be something loose inside that guitar that I haven't found yet. Maybe a brace or something. I don't know. Okay, well, anyway, that's all that. If I have any other spare time, another thing I might do is teach Sue how to weld with that new little Arc Captain welder. She mentioned she'd like to learn how to weld, and I said, okay, well, I'm sure I could show you with that little welder. That it would be probably as easy to use as any welder. And I'll probably convert it back to wire feed. Right now I have it set up for stick. That little welder can do stick, wire feed, or even lift TIG welding. And I don't know much about TIG welding, period. I can do it a little bit, but I definitely don't know anything about lift TIG. But you have to buy a special gun for that, and we don't have that, or torch is what they call it, I think. Let's go to the comments and see where we're at. I know Sue made a comment in there that we're going to have to hire a lawn service or something. I saw that. She's obsessed with this dang lawn tractor. I got to get it working, hopefully today. Now that we're on that subject, I might as well mention that, I told you I was working on it a little bit this morning. I pulled it in the shop. I had to clean the shop out because I had all those trusses in there. Well, anyway, I got that cleaned out, got the lawn tractor in there, and I hooked up the electric fuel pump fairly quickly, the mechanical parts. But now the electrical parts, I can't find a dang wire to connect it to. I've got a probe that you can, a tester, so that I can tell which wire gets hot when you turn the key on. I can't find a wire that gets hot when you turn the key on. And I'm probing the wires at the base of the key, at the base of the key switch. None of them seem to get hot when you turn, and I'm testing the tester, and the tester seems to be working. It's just that none of those wires seem to get hot when you turn the key on. Wouldn't you know? That's just my typical luck. It's just kind of normal for me. I just don't get it. Plus, it's in a real hard place to get to, so testing it's not easy to begin with. It just ain't easy being me, is all I can tell you. Anyway, it looks like Joe Nigan was the first guy in this morning. Or this afternoon. I can't get off of the morning thing. Bruce Hines is in there, looking for question marks primarily. Dottie's still hanging in there with her shingles thing. Yeah, let's see. And she's praying for us. Thank you, Dottie. Let's moving on down. Operation for our grandson is October 2nd. Mark Nasdam's on here. I just can't picture him being well enough to be part of this morning already. Well, I'm glad to hear it, though. Moving on down. After we went live, looks like Dottie was the first one in there. And then Bill Mumbo. Let's see. Looking for question marks. Primarily Wavy Gravy. I'm getting stronger, and as I get older. Yesterday, I just bought $90 worth of groceries like it weighed nothing at all. Picked up $90 is what he said. $90 worth of groceries like it weighed nothing at all. Yeah, that's for sure. Man, back when I was a kid, a quarter would buy you a whole sack full of stuff, you know. Yeah, you can't buy nothing with a quarter anymore. Let's see. Out of Hildebrand, been there with the hay, Jerry. Saw a barn burn before the fire department could get there. They lost everything. Yeah, it's scary to me. It's really scary. And there's Sue's comment about the lawn service. She is literally obsessed with that lawn tractor. I will get it fixed, hopefully today. And if this doesn't fix it, then the only thing I know to do, there's only two more things I can think of, period. Because I've done everything else. And everybody's going to ask the same questions again about, did you do the fuel lines? Did you do the fuel cap? Did you do the fuel tank? Yeah, all those things have been done. Everything's been done. Everything. Including taking the carburetor apart twice and cleaning it twice. It runs fine. It doesn't run under load is the problem. So if this doesn't fix it, if the fuel pump doesn't fix it, so there's only two more things I can think of. One of them is get a brand new carburetor, which I might do. The other one would be working with the governor somehow. That's the only other thing I can think of. If there's a way to test the spark for strength, maybe that could be another problem too, because it's getting good spark. The spark looks good, but maybe it's not strong enough somehow. And that could be the only other, that's the only three things I can think of at this point. So hopefully this fuel thing will fix it, and then we don't have to worry about those other two or three things. Moving on down here. Scott Roberts says, moved a lot of big, heavy stuff, and a tagline would have made that a whole lot easier and safer to boot. Well, maybe. I didn't feel like we needed a tagline at all because there wasn't anybody around to hold it. I hauled that all the way up there all by myself. And then when I lifted it up, once you get it up on top of the building, the tagline almost just gets in your way. So it really wasn't much need for it. I didn't feel in this particular small job. I mean, a big job, yeah, for sure. I agree. But on a little job like this, I didn't feel like it needed it. Buzzy says, wow, very cool. Congrats. Ronald Todd, very nice looking wheelhouse there so far. The roof will outlast all of us and then some. Bill Mumbo, Sue Jerry says he's not busy enough anymore with the honeydews. Yeah, that's true. I never have anything to do. Hugh O'Connor, you must be really pleased with the Waterwheel house. Everything that could have gone wrong didn't, and it's really looking good. Well, there was plenty of side problems, I can tell you that. It hasn't been easy, but at least it's going well. And I engineered every piece as I built it. I didn't have any pre-drawn plans or any pre-drawn sizes or anything, including those trusses. I mean, I just figured it out as I needed it. And that's how I built the whole thing. And it's working out. So, again, I've built a lot of stuff in my life. So it's not that big of a stretch to do something like that without any plans or drawings or anything. Nancy says, make Leon's guitar into a banjo if it doesn't want to be a guitar. Yeah, well, yeah. I'm getting a Charlie horse. It's trying to come through my leg here, and it just, I tell you. Going to have to quit working 8 hours in 4 hours. That's the problem. Bill Webb, coming in late, still not used to the new show time. I'm back in the mandolin business. Gotta practice up. Bill Webb. Yep. Well, good. Mark says, Leon's guitar sounds like a new song. The Martin that didn't want to be a guitar. Hey, you might have something there. If I could just think of a few more lines, you guys could throw out a few more lines here. Maybe I could write a song about that. That actually would be a good tune if I could come up with it. Good idea, Mark. Man, you're definitely clicking on all cylinders there, Mark, after all what you've been through. Pretty amazing. Let's see. Nancy says dynamite. Yeah, dynamite might fix that guitar. That could fix it probably. Wouldn't have to worry about it then. Bert Pichon says that mower may not have a switch on hot terminal. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. It should have something that would get hot. Why would you need a switch if you don't have something getting hot? You know what I'm saying? Doesn't make sense. There's a hot wire to the switch. One of the wires is hot all the time. Doesn't matter whether the switch is on or off. That wire's hot all the time. Well, that wire doesn't do me any good. I need one that gets hot when you turn the switch on. That way the fuel pump will kick on when that wire kicks on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just not easy being me. You probably never heard that. Let's see. Bill Rhodes says, hopefully it's not sucking air. I'm not sure which thing you're talking about there, Bill. The lawnmower, I guess. But as far as I can tell, it's not sucking air, although it has to suck air. If you don't, there's like 4 things that every engine has to have to run. It's got to have fuel. It's got to have air. It's got to have compression. It's got to have spark. If it's got those 4 things, and even all 4 of those things are easy to test. Well, the thing is that this thing actually does have all 4 of those things. The fuel is the only suspect one that I don't think it's getting enough fuel, is the reason that I'm putting the different fuel pump on it. But I still don't know that for sure, that's going to fix it. That's what makes it so hard. It's got everything it needs to run. So there you go. Simon says, any tips on cleaning oil stones, Jerry? I was told boil it, apprentice the stones, clean. Well, I'll have to do you one better, Simon. Why do you need to clean an oil stone? I never clean them. I never have. I've never cleaned one, ever. In fact, I like it with all that oil embedded in the stone. Yeah, I don't ever clean them. That's just me. John Cunningham, is it reasonable to make a separate hot wire separate from the key switch? Well, yeah, you can, for sure. But you'd have to put a separate switch, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. See, I already put a separate switch to start it because the switch thing that, I forget what happened now, but it was a pain in the neck. I can tell you that. So I made it where you turn the key on, and now you have to push a separate switch button. It's a momentary switch. You can get a single pole, single throw, momentary, and that's what this is. So you push the button in, and it starts the mower you let off, and it's no longer engaged. So I've already put a separate switch on it. I didn't want to put yet another switch on it just to throw on the fuel pump. You know what I'm saying? Because then you'd have to turn the key on, throw the switch, push the button, and so it gets to be multiple steps. Not that that's not doable, and that may be what I have to do, because that's the only alternative I can think of at the moment. But I've definitely thought of that already, and that's the only thing I can think of. But as far as I can tell, none of those stupid wires on that switch get hot when you turn the key on. They don't seem to anyway. The only reason I hesitate on that at all is just because they're in such a, you can't get to it. And so my probe just barely reaches. Yeah, it's just one of them deals. And I, by the way, and just because the next person's going to say this, yes, I've already taken the switch loose and tried to push the switch out where I could get to it, and it won't come out. It's just so much crud in there, and it's jammed in, and how they got it in there to begin with, I have no idea. But it's like, did you ever hear it's not easy to be me? Well, you got to think about that. Bill Mumbo, could it be timing, Jerry? Not advanced under the load? Yeah, it's a possibility of something like that, but I don't know how I would change that exactly. I generally speaking, on these small engines, you generally don't have to do anything to change the timing. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, it's kind of locked in. It's on the flywheel. That key, that half moon key that goes on the flywheel, that locks the flywheel down, that's kind of your timing right there. And if that key's bent a little bit, well, your timing's off. Well, I've taken it apart, checked it, and as far as I can tell, the timing's fine. I don't know. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. I'm not ruling it out, you understand? I'm just saying I don't see how it could be that, but it might be. Nancy Milwaukee says, question marks for the mower. Okay, let's see. Moving. Well, that comment just went away. Ronald Todd, I'm with John. Run a new wire hotkey, to the battery. Yeah, that's the only option I can see right at the moment, but I would rather not do that if I didn't have to. It'd just be nice to turn the key and have the fuel pump kick on. That would be better. Scott Roberts, if the new fuel pump doesn't fix the mower, I would bet on adjusting the governor. Assume you have already checked gap on the coil. Yep, the coil and all that's been worked on. In fact, it's got 2 coils, and I've got those set. And, I mean, it starts and runs fine. I don't think that could be the problem either. You never know. You never know. Again, the coil might be weak. I don't know how to test that. That's what I don't know how to test, is to see if the spark is strong enough and if the coils are strong enough. I don't know how to test it. But they look to be strong enough. I've always just done an eyeball test on that stuff in the past. When it throws a spark, it's generally good enough. And it's throwing spark strong, Ronald Todd, on-off switch inline. Yeah, well, again, it's just one more thing to do, though. I get it. I know how to do that. I'm trying to avoid it. Nancy says, dynamite for the mower and then a new mower. Yeah. Well, again, the mower itself is fine. It's just getting it to run fine. I mean, just think about it. All of these tractors I have, they're 5 times older than that lawnmower. And we're still using them. We're not throwing them away. You know what I'm saying? They were built in the 60s and in the 50s in one case. So we don't want to throw them away. And this lawnmower was built in the 2000s, and it's perfectly fine other than it just having a little running issue. And I know most people don't have the patience to fix something like that. They don't. They just go buy a new one. But I guarantee you, when I get down to it, I guarantee you, 1,000% guarantee, it's a simple problem. It's just, I haven't found out what the problem is yet. It's just that simple. It's going to be a simple problem. It'll be a simple fix. Just haven't found what it is yet. There you go. I guarantee it. 1,000% you can take it to the bank. It'll be a simple problem. Hopefully this fuel pump will fix it, but maybe not. How about running a hot wire to the pump without switch to test the pump? Yeah, you could do that. I thought about doing that too, just to test it, but yeah, not easy being me. Yep. Bill Rhodes, touch the spark plug while it's running. Yeah, you can tell if it's got spark. Yeah, I get that too. I do not like getting shocked. Boy, I mean, like, I'd just about soon be shot as to be shocked. I hate being shocked. I mean, I just hate it. It drives me crazy. So, and I think that comes from when I was a kid. Dad always had electric fences, and it was around 10 acres, and we had to walk that 10 acres and pull the green grass off of the wires. And every once in a while you'd get shocked, with that darn fence. And back in those days, those fences, they were hot, man. They nailed you. And I just hate to get shocked to this day. So you ain't going to see me grabbing a hold of no spark plug wire. I can tell you that. Do the lights get hot with the key on? There are no lights on this. Let's see. They built them much better in the 50s and 60s. Well, that may be true. Steve Kaufelt, I bet it's going to end up the governor sticking somewhere. It's a possibility. The governor could be a possibility. I mean, that's one of the three possibilities. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's what it is. But the truth is, I'm not very good with governors. I don't know that much about governors. The rest of the engine, I pretty much know it like the back of my hand. But the governor, that's a little suspect. I don't know much about the governor itself or how to set them or any of that stuff, to be truthful. Just haven't messed with that very much. Never really ever needed to. You can get a spark checker. It has an adjustable gap so you can change the gap. Yep. Yeah. I do actually have one of those somewhere. Now that you say that, I don't think mine's adjustable though, but maybe it is. I don't know. Gary Hayes, could Gary do Josephine, and Jerry, could you from where I stand? All right. Thank you. I'll write those down. From where I stand, and Josephine. I always like Josephine. Guys, I don't really want to take a bunch more requests though, because the plate's already full. But I'll write those two down because I do really like those two songs, and thank you for asking. David Tharp, have you heard about that gang that is systematically shoplifting clothes by size? Authorities say they are still at large. Yeah, well, when they get to extra large, now you're in my category. Wavy Gravy. Jerry, I used to think all work and no play makes Jack, but you are living proof that's not always true. All work and no play. Yeah, but that's pretty much what I do. Let's see. Scott Roberts. Jerry Bill sends you lots of love. LOL. Thank you. Well, guys, I'm going to let that be it. I wish I could quit coughing, too. I wish this would just fly off somewhere and go away. Yeah, I'm going to take about probably a 5-minute nap, because as soon as I start taking the nap, somebody's going to interrupt me. But anyway, I'm going to try to take a nap. Then I'm going to go down there and work on that dang lawnmower. And I'm going to find one way or the other to get that darn fuel pump to work. Like I said, it might have to be an external switch. I don't want an external switch, but I might put one on it just because I'm tired of dealing with all this. And that way we'll know if it's going to fix the problem. I kind of think it will, though. I just kind of think that those little suction pumps aren't worth a darn. And, it's worked all this time. It's worked fine. But there could be something down in the suction part, down inside the engine, could be part of the problem. I don't know. And maybe it's just not sucking as hard as it used to. So that could be part of it, too. But anyway, one way or the other, we'll get to the bottom of it. And I guarantee you it's something simple once we finally figure out what it is. We'll see you tomorrow with something else. Well, actually, we'll see you tomorrow with something else, and then later tomorrow we'll have our live show. See you then.